Naomi? Get out
Naomi,
now.
get out!
He lunged at me in the hallway, fists flying. I struggled, calling for my children. Then a shove sent me crashing down the stairs. Pain and fear consumed me. Love wasn't enough. Helping him didn't lift me up. It almost destroyed me. My name is Naomi. I'm 28. I carry scars you can't see, and a story you need to hear. Today is one of the hardest days of my life. It all started at a birthday party. My friend was celebrating, and the music was so loud it felt like it was beating inside my chest. People were dancing, laughing, living their best lives. I was standing quietly in a simple dress, just enjoying the night and minding my own business. Then I saw him. Kofi. He wasn't the richest-looking man there. No gold chains, no flashy designer clothes. Just a simple man with a quiet smile. He looked like a good man. We started talking. He told me he was a mechanic, a man who worked with his hands every day. And I like that. I've always respected a man who isn't afraid to get grease under his fingernails. We stayed together, sharing stories and laughing, until the lights came on and the party was over. We didn't rush into anything. We became friends first. We would spend hours on the phone sharing our dreams and hopes. He often told me, Naomi, one day I want to own my own big garage. I want to become a successful man. And me? I listened. I encouraged him. I would say, Kofi, you are a hard worker. God will bless the work of your hands. At that time, I was already working in healthcare. I was earning good money, but I never used it to make him feel small. I treated him with respect, even when he couldn't afford to buy me something as simple as a bottle of water. Kofi was just managing. That's the only way to put it. Some days, he didn't even have money for transportation to get to his workshop. I remember one day he called me, his voice so low and defeated. He said, Naomi, I'm hungry and I don't have a penny. What did I do? I sent him money. I told him, don't worry, honey. Friends help each other. I didn't realize then that I was starting a pattern. I didn't know I was teaching him that as long as I was there, he didn't have to struggle at all. Then came that Friday evening. I'll never forget the date. Kofi called me and his voice sounded different, nervous, tense. Naomi, he said, meet me at the community event tonight. I have something important to tell you. When I arrived, we found some plastic chairs and sat down. He reached for my hand, rough and calloused from all his mechanic work, but I loved it. He looked into my eyes and said, Naomi, listen to me. I'm a poor man. I don't have much now. I'm still struggling, but I love you. You are the only woman who stayed by me when I had nothing. He didn't just ask me, he fell to his knees. Right there in front of me, in the middle of everyone. People were staring, but I couldn't look away. He said, Naomi, please, will you marry me? I promise I'll work hard for you. I promise I'll never let you down. Tears streamed down my face. I was overwhelmed. My heart whispered, this man loves me for real. Money didn't matter. I whispered, yes, Kofi. I will marry you. We hugged, and in that moment I felt like I was soaring above the clouds, like nothing in the world could ever touch me. 2 months later, we did it. It wasn't a fancy wedding with 1,000 guests, just family and a few close friends. My parents looked worried. My mother leaned in and whispered, Naomi, are you sure? This man has nothing. I smiled and said, Mama, money isn't everything. He has a good heart. I wish I had listened to her silence. She knew something I didn't. But I was 23 then, convinced that love alone could pay the bills. After the wedding, reality hit hard. We were living in a tiny one-room apartment. The roof leaked whenever it rained, and Kofi was still struggling to keep his mechanic business afloat. So I stepped up. I took every extra shift at the hospital. Nights, weekends, holidays. While other wives were sleeping or enjoying their free time, I was tending to patients, cleaning wounds, checking pulses. Why? Because I wanted a better life. For him, for us, for our future. I was disciplined. No new hairstyles, no designer bags. I took the bus instead of taxis. Every extra penny I earned went straight into a secret savings account. I told Kofi, don't worry, love. Just focus on your work. I'll handle the big things. He got comfortable. Stopped looking for extra work. Knew I'd pay the rent, buy the food. I became both the man and the woman of the house. After years of sweat and tears, I'd had enough. I didn't say a word. I went and found a big, beautiful house. 5 bedrooms, a huge yard. My dream. The day I signed the papers, I cried. I went home and handed Kofi the keys. His jaw dropped. Naomi, where did you get this? He stammered. I smiled. It's for us, Kofi. Our home. No more leaking roofs, no more tiny apartments. He hugged me tight, but for a moment I saw something in his eyes. Not just joy. Something darker. Shame? Or greed? Once we moved into that big house, I looked out at the driveway. It felt empty. Kofi's old, battered car sat there, covered in grease and smoke, looking tired, just like him. I whispered to myself, the head of this house shouldn't be driving something that falls apart every 2 miles. It wasn't just a car. It was a symbol. And deep down, I knew things were about to change, for better, or for worse. I went to the dealership. I didn't just buy one car, I bought two. 2 matching black Jeeps. Big, powerful, shiny. One for me so I could get to the hospital with ease. One for him so he could drive in style. When I rolled them into the driveway, neighbors stepped out, mouths open, eyes wide. I handed him the keys. He stared at me like I had descended from the heavens. My queen, he whispered, awed. That day, all those nights working overtime, skipping luxuries, sacrificing sleep, it felt worth it. I was proud. I had given my man more than a car. I had given him respect, status, a life I had built with my own hands. Not long after the cars, God blessed us with another miracle. I found out I was pregnant. We named him Micah. Holding that tiny life in my arms for the first time in our big house, it felt like a fairy tale. I would sit in the nursery, rocking Micah gently, staring out the window at the 2 black Jeeps shining in the driveway, and whispering a prayer of thanks. God had truly been good. At first, Kofi was a good father. He would cradle Micah in his arms, whispering promises of the world, telling him he'd never want for anything. I would watch them, my heart swelling with pride and relief. I thought, this is it. This is the reward for all my years of struggle and sacrifice. But I was blinded by my own happiness. I didn't see the shadows creeping into Kofi's heart, the subtle changes that would soon turn our dream into a nightmare. A year later, Zaria arrived, my beautiful little princess. Suddenly we had a boy and a girl. The picture-perfect family. But Naomi? I was exhausted. I was still grinding at the hospital, working 12-hour shifts, and then coming home to cook, clean, and care for 2 little lives who depended on me completely. My body ached, my eyes burned, but I kept going. I told myself, this is love. This is what family is supposed to be. Kofi, he started disappearing more and more. The workshop was slow, he said, and suddenly he had to wash the car, or go see friends. I didn't complain. I told myself, he's a man. He needs his space. But Naomi, my heart knew something was off. The little flickers of honesty I once saw in his eyes were fading. The man I loved was slowly slipping away, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. This is where everything turned dark. You know that heavy, uneasy feeling when you walk into a room and something just isn't right? That's my home now. Kofi stopped saying thank you. He stopped asking about my day. The laughter we once shared vanished, replaced by icy silences and cold, distant. He started acting strange. Small things set him off. A meal a minute late and he'd yell. I'd ask where he was going and he'd snap, am I a child? Why are you following me? The peace I'd worked so hard to create, with my blood, sweat, and money, was slipping through my fingers. The most painful part was the silence. We'd sit at the dinner table, the one I bought with my own money, and he wouldn't speak a single word to me. But his phone? That thing never stopped buzzing. Every vibration was like a dagger in my chest. He started taking his phone everywhere, even to the bathroom. Sleeping with it under his pillow. When I asked, Kofi, who's texting you at 2 a.m., he snapped, it's work, Naomi. Stop bothering me. But I knew the truth. A mechanic doesn't get emergency calls at 2 o'clock in the morning to fix cars in the dark. Then the late nights turned into whole days. One Friday he didn't come home at all. I sat by the window, the house dark and silent, my heart pounding as I watched the empty street. I called his phone over and over, 50 times, but no answer. Not a word. Not a sign. He walked in Sunday morning, smelling of expensive perfume and beer. Not a glance my way, he went straight to the shower. I followed, tears streaming, voice shaking, asking, where have you been? He didn't even flinch. I was out. I'm a man. I don't have to tell you my every move. Then my friend Jen came to me, her eyes full of worry. She said, trembling, Naomi, I hate to tell you this, but people are talking. They've seen Kofi at the mall, with a young girl. And that black Jeep you bought him? She's sitting in the front seat, your seat. I didn't want to believe it. I yelled at Jen, accusing her of jealousy. I chose to trust his lies over her warning, the man who was quietly planning my destruction. One morning, Kofi packed a small bag. No kisses for Micah. No hugs for Zaria. He just drove off in the Jeep. 1 day, 3 days, a week. I was falling apart. I couldn't eat. At work, I was saving lives while my own life was bleeding out. 2 weeks passed. I had to lie to my children, telling them their father was on a business trip, lying for a man who didn't care if we lived or died. After 2 weeks, I heard the Jeep in the driveway. My heart leapt. He's back. Maybe he's changed. Maybe we can fix this. I ran to the door, hope bursting in my chest. But the door opened and my world stopped. He wasn't alone. A young girl held his hand. Barely 20. Tight dress. And her belly, she was pregnant. Kofi looked at me with a face I barely recognized. No love. No warmth. Just eyes. He pointed at the young girl beside him and said, "Naomi, this is the woman I love now. She's carrying my child. I'm not hiding it anymore." The words hit me like a punch. Everything I had built, every sacrifice I made, shattered. Then he said the words that crushed me completely. "This house is too small for 2 wives. Since you're the one with the job, the money, take your children and leave. I'm giving this home to her." Every part of me froze. My hands, my heart, my future, all ripped away in a single sentence. When he told me to leave my own house, something inside me snapped. I turned to the young girl, then back at the man I had built from nothing. "Leave?" I shouted, my voice shaking the windows. "Kofi, listen to me. I worked nights while you slept. I paid the down payment on this house. I bought the cars you drive. I will not leave this home for you, and I will definitely not leave it for her." The room went silent. Even the walls seemed to hold their breath. The girl froze, fear in her eyes, but Kofi's face twisted with a dark, demonic anger. He hated that I dared to stand up to him. He wanted the quiet Naomi from the party, the one who never spoke back. But that Naomi no longer existed. He didn't even speak. He advanced toward me, a storm in human form. I lunged for the phone, desperate to call for help, but he was faster. His grip locked around my arm, crushing it so hard I could hear my own bone groan. He lashed out at me in the hallway, fury burning across his face. I struggled, but he seized me, dragging me up the staircase. I flailed, scratched, and screamed for my children, praying they wouldn't see this nightmare. At the landing, his eyes were cold, empty, hard as stone. Then, with a merciless shove, I tumbled down the steps, each one slamming into me, pain and terror consuming my entire being. I remember the feeling of weightlessness. For a heartbeat, I was flying through the air. Then my back slammed into the first step, my head hit the next, my legs crushed against the stairs. It felt like I was falling forever, pain and terror stretching time into an eternity. Every step I hit sent fire through my body. When I finally crashed to the ground floor, silence swallowed me. I couldn't move. The ceiling swam in a blur. Blood filled my mouth. From above, I heard the girl screaming and Kofi's heavy footsteps coming down. I couldn't cry out. I just lay there, broken, on the very tiles I had picked with so much hope. The neighbors had heard the chaos. In our street, everyone keeps an eye out for one another. Before Kofi could even act, the piercing wail of sirens cut through the night. Red and blue lights slammed against the walls, flashing across the expensive tiles, turning our nightmare into a scene of urgent, unstoppable justice. The police smashed through the door. Their eyes fell on me, lying broken on the floor, and on Kofi standing there with blood on his hands. They didn't hesitate. They lunged, tackling him to the ground. The sharp click of the handcuffs rang like music in my ears, the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. As they lifted me onto a stretcher, I caught sight of Jen, my best friend, running toward the house, shouting my name, tears streaming down her face. I reached out, but darkness closed in. Everything went black. I woke up in a room that smelled like bleach. I was back in a hospital, but this time I wasn't the nurse. I was the patient. For 4 long months, that bed became my world. My legs were my biggest enemy. The doctor said I was lucky to be alive, but they weren't sure if I would ever walk the same way again. Every movement hurt. Every step was a battle. Physical therapy felt like torture. Learning to stand, to balance, to take even one tiny step. But while my body struggled, my mind didn't. I wasn't crying anymore. I wasn't broken. I was planning. I was thinking about justice, about my children, about everything Kofi had tried to take from me. While I was broken, Jen became my rock. She didn't just take my children, she shielded their hearts and minds. She whispered to them, "Mommy is a superhero. She's at her hero base, getting stronger so she can come back and save the day." She brought them to see me every weekend. When Micah saw me lying there, he broke down. "Mommy, why did Daddy hurt you? How do you answer that?" I just held him tight and whispered, "Honey, Daddy will never hurt us again. I promise." That promise became my fuel. Every painful step in therapy, every scream of my burning legs, it was worth it for them. For my children. For our future. Time moves differently when you're healing. 5 long years went by. Kofi was behind bars. The law saw the truth of what he did. While he sat in a cell, I raised our children, building their world with love and strength. In those years, I didn't sell the house. I didn't sell the cars. I kept them as reminders. Every time I limped across the living room, I felt that fire inside me, proof that I had survived. I returned to my work in healthcare. People called me a survivor, but I told them, no. I am a victor. Kofi tried. He sent letters from prison. Apologies, excuses, stories about the young girl leaving him when the money stopped flowing. I didn't even glance at one. Each envelope went straight into the fire. Ashes in the wind. He had his chance. I had mine. The 5 years are over. Today I stand before the judge. I am no longer that scared girl from the party. I am a woman who knows her worth. I am claiming everything. I am asking the court to remove his name from every document. I want the house, the cars, and most importantly, I want my children to grow up without the shadow of his face over them, until they are old enough to decide for themselves. I'm standing on my own 2 legs. They may still ache, they may still falter, but they are standing. And so am I. The judge studied the evidence, the medical reports, the record of every brick I had paid for in that house. Judgment for the plaintiff, he declared. I had won. The house was mine. The cars were mine. My children were safe. As I stepped out of the courtroom, the sun felt warmer than it had in years. I returned home, sat in my big house, and for the first time in a long time, I felt real peace. So, my YouTube family, why am I sharing this story? I want you to understand that your kindness is not a weakness. If you are a woman who earns more than your partner, never be ashamed. But be wise. Don't build a palace for someone who treats you like a servant. If he doesn't value the sweat of your work, he will never honor the strength in your veins. I am Naomi. I am a mother, a healthcare worker, and a survivor. I lost my marriage and the full use of my legs, but I found my soul. And it is worth more than any house, any car, or any man. Thank you so much for journeying through this tale with me. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear this wisdom, and subscribe to join our growing family of storytellers. Your support truly means everything. I'd love to hear from you. Which part of the story resonated with you most? And let me know which part of the world you're watching from. I read every comment and they truly keep me going. See you in the next story. I love you all. God bless you. Bye.